Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce's weekly webinar. I would like to invite on screen today Stephanie and Lynn, who will be joining us for this webinar. They're going to help us answer some questions. We're super excited to bring you the fourth part of our Maximize Your Chamber membership series. So today we're going to talk about committees, roundtables, and councils all in depth. And if you are curious about the first three parts of this series, you can locate them on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our chamber website underneath the webinars tab. All of these webinars are recorded and they are uploaded afterwards for you to view and share. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and get started. All righty. Okay, so today, maximizing your chamber membership, committees, roundtables, and councils in depth. So as you're going to see on the screen, these are some of the other things that we've talked about. These are our previous series parts. So we have 5 things you can do right now. Interact across chamber platforms, and from our mouth to theirs, get them talking about you. So let's talk about a little bit about committees. We really went into this in depth in our last webinar, but just as a little bit of a refresher, chamber committees provide a great way for members to help support the work of the mainline Chamber of Commerce. Committee members are responsible for providing input on the operations of the chamber and supporting the work of the professional staff. Our committees are a wonderful support system for our roundtables and councils. You can definitely, as I mentioned, learn more about them by watching our previous webinar. But all in all, committees are the support system that allow us to move forward. They are what help the staff make sure to get things done, whether by providing their time or their connections. They are definitely a vital part. Some of our committees that we have available for joining are nonprofit, tourism, programming and marketing, membership, and Ypad. So moving on, we're going to talk about our nonprofit council. This is one of our most well-to-do councils. It's super attended, and it's great. It just gives back. The luncheon provides a platform for nonprofit organizations to build strategic partnerships within our community. Nonprofit council members are constantly developing win-win synergies among the group. There are nearly 80 nonprofit council members. This nonprofit council takes place the first Tuesday of the month at 11:30 a.m. We're currently holding it at Arts Garage, but prior to COVID, we used to hold it here in the chamber, and we will be moving back to that as things, as some guidelines lift from now on. So our Health and Wellness Council is one of our newer councils. The mission is to provide a platform for healthcare professionals to connect in a field focused on improving the health of society as a whole, to learn from local industry professionals on various topics, and to have access to current news and latest trends in the healthcare industry. This committee meets bi-monthly at Inspired Living in Delray Beach. Sponsored by Inspired Living, it's the third Tuesday of every other month at 8:30 a.m. Tourism Roundtable. The mission is to provide a platform for our tourism and hospitality members to connect and grow their business. We invite industry professionals to give us an update on local, state, and national tourism initiatives. They meet quarterly and they are sponsored by Hotels at Sea. Restaurant Roundtable, again, is one of our newer roundtables. This newly launched roundtable is led by Gary Broidus and John Brewer. Join us for industry best practices, a unified voice in education for your restaurant business. Fourth Tuesday of every other month at 10:30 a.m. Real Estate Roundtable. Find out the latest in real estate, facilitated by Christina Morrison. Each Real Estate Roundtable includes a haves and wants exchange program. Each realtor will present a property that they have for sale, lease, or a property that needs a buyer or tenant. And lastly, Ypad. The Ypad is the young professionals group for those under the age of 40. They host monthly events that range from happy hours, socials, speakers, and entrepreneurial roundtables. Volunteerism is important to the Ypaders, and they hold events such as beach cleanups during the year and other give backs and fundraisers. Ypad is sponsored by Delray Buick GMC this year. All of our events are networking events and are opportunities to engage and connect with other individuals. Ypad meets the second Tuesday of every month to plan their monthly events and activism. This committee is currently full and unable to accept new members, but if you are interested, please make a note and reach out to Angel Vasquez, and we will go ahead and put you on a waiting list for if a spot opens up. So that's a lot of information, and I'm going to bring Lynn and Stephanie onto the screen to go ahead and talk about a little bit of these roundtables a little bit more in detail, and we're going to ask some questions.
Okay, I wanted to say something first. I'm going to chime in. So when we talk about committees, they're different from the councils and roundtables. So the committees we have, like we have a Ypad committee that plans the events like for the whole year in advance for the Ypad group that gets together, if that makes sense. So we have committees that do the work of helping Angel with the programming, and then like the Health and Wellness Committee will plan what's going on with the Health and Wellness Roundtable for when they meet every other month. So it's two different things. The committee's more involved, and then when we hold the roundtable, it's for the wider world, and you'll have 30 or 40 people showing up. The committees are smaller, and they help to plan the activities for the councils and roundtables, if that makes sense.
So the committees are the support system to ensure that these councils and roundtables go smoothly and that they have a speaker and that they have lunch provided for them, correct?
Right, that's right.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think I know that Lynn is on here, so we're going to invite her to come on. So I have a couple of questions surrounding our councils and our roundtables. Let's go ahead and start with health and wellness, because it's one of our newer ones and it is one that has just gone with a running start. So Stephanie, when did the Health and Wellness Council start?
So it came about, obviously during COVID, there was a lot of interest in the health and wellness sector. And we have a lot of representation from anywhere from our major hospitals down to, just a single practitioner, depending on what they do. And they wanted to share with each other. We had a healthcare symposium that was featured Jeff Perlman, who survived COVID, and he talked about that. And from that, a few of the healthcare providers got together and said, let's do something on a more permanent basis. So they developed the Health and Wellness Committee that are now producing for the very first time in-person events with the Health and Wellness Council. So our first event was in March, and we held it with our sponsor at Inspired Living.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about Inspired Living and what they do and why they were chosen as the host venue for the Health and Wellness Council?
They're such an involved new member. We're really, excited to be working with them. They haven't opened yet, but it's a luxury retirement space for seniors. And you and I have both done some of the hard hat tours of the spaces that they have available. They're gorgeous, modern, beautiful spaces with a full kitchen that serves wonderful food. So it's a really nice place to be able to meet for any group. So they were very, very connected to this community, and they want to be able to provide space for all kinds of groups to meet. So it's a really good way for people to get to know Inspired Living and for us to have a beautiful venue to hold an event.
And another reason why we chose them, if I'm correct, is because they allow for us to be COVID safe. Just their space is gorgeous and it's large, and we can eat there and listen to a speaker safely.
Yeah, they're very good with the COVID protocols, obviously, because they're in the health and wellness sector. So we felt comfortable in March holding our first in-person meeting, and it was great.
So you said breakfast. How good is that breakfast there?
Okay, you're so funny. I came back to the office and you missed it. It is the best chamber breakfast I have ever had at a chamber event. It was so good. They had frittatas. They had these great the fruits and a sugar cone thing and parfaits, and oh my gosh, if only that, you got to come to the next Health and Wellness Roundtable. It's really good.
So we joke, guys, but seriously, I saw some photos of that breakfast afterwards and they look like pieces of art. I was like, oh, they must be selling this photo to be placed on walls. And Stephanie came back, she goes, no, that's what they served us at the Health and Wellness Council, which is great. I mean, it's always nice to have something delightful to nosh on a little bit while you get to hear from a very interesting speaker. So Stephanie, do you have to be a healthcare professional to benefit from this council?
Well, that's the interesting part of it. No, you really don't, because the program that they have is accessible to anyone. I think the first one we had was like the psychological effects that COVID is causing for everyone in our communities. And they did, overview in different sectors of how it could be affecting your life. And that affects everybody's life. So the health and wellness professionals, it was very helpful for them to know then how to help their patients and who to refer them to. But it was helpful for me. I'm not in the medical profession, and we loved it so much that we asked the presenter, I think it was Daniel from Delray Medical and Dental, to do a webinar on that because the content was so fantastic. So you don't have to be a health and wellness professional to really benefit from this particular roundtable.
Wonderful. So I'm going to jump over to Lynn just because I see her on the screen. So Lynn actually heads our nonprofit council. So we're going to ask her a couple of questions today because, as I mentioned, that group is just so strong and they always have an amazing attendance rate, and it's something that people want to be a part of. So Lynn, who runs this council, and is it done by committee or is it done by the chamber staff? Because it is quite a large group.
Yeah, it's run by a committee and it's run by some of our nonprofit members. So people right in the field knowing exactly what's going on right now, and they help plan great agendas. They bring in great speakers because they know firsthand, especially coming out of COVID right now, our topic this year is telling your story like never before. And just from hearing from the experts what the nonprofits are doing to try to recover from that year. So back to your question, it's run by a committee of experts who are nonprofits. I am their liaison from the chamber and help them, but really I'm assisting them. So they're a great group right in the middle of what's going on with the nonprofits.
Right, wonderful. And so can a nonprofit chamber member bring other employees, board members, or volunteers to this meeting? Because when I hear nonprofit, I think, oh, well, I'm not a part of a nonprofit. So is that allowed?
Yes, we welcome 2 from each nonprofit. So just so we can keep our numbers, because this really is free to our nonprofit members. So they are welcome to come and enjoy lunch and speakers and networking and some great internal information, collaboration for free. And we welcome them to bring 1 with them. If they do want to bring other people from the organization, they just need to help pay for their lunch. So they sign up online and we welcome 2 for free. So many times we'll have a topic that will really meet the volunteer coordinator. So she may want to come and bring 1 of her volunteers, or the topic may be really good for a board member. And so 2 board members will come, or it's on a CEO level. So the CEO and the VP will come. So we welcome 2. If not, they need to help pay for it. And just to piggyback off that, and I'll finish, profits are welcome to come as well. We have a lot of profit organizations that are really interested in what the nonprofits are doing. They want to collaborate with them. They want to help them. You are more than welcome. We kind of created an arm called the Friend of the Nonprofit. We just ask that you would pay $10 for your lunch to help cover the cost. And again, it's sign up online. It really doesn't matter if you bring 1 or 2 people with you because you're paying for your lunch.
All right, so we're talking a little bit about lunch. So of course that means that it's in person. Is there a limit on how many people can attend, especially with COVID right now? And where is it happening?
Sure. January, February, and March, we met at the Arts Garage. And we did have a limit of 70 because they have a huge building, a huge room. And so we could all spread out. And we didn't have that many come, but we decided early on, actually the end of 2020, that we would begin meeting in person because of that connection that we had. And so we've been averaging 25 to 30 in the group, which has worked well. Now in April, we're coming back home. We're really excited. We're coming back to the chamber. We're going to be in our boardroom where we're used to being, where we feel comfortable. I will limit it at 40 because of our space. And, should we grow and not feel comfortable if vaccines are not continuing to roll out the way they are? And I feel like each month, the numbers and the availability gets better for us. So we're going to play it month by month, but for now we're back home, yay. And we'll limit it at 40.
So as far as playing it month by month, how can I get that information? How do I know if it's, in person or online? Where can I find that?
Sure. That will come out in your Monday newsletter. There will always be a little flyer with all the information, and just read that flyer because it will be on there. Plus, if you are a nonprofit, then you are connected to an email that I send out to all the nonprofits with further information, some details about it. This year it's been really exciting because we get an article in the Atlantic Ave magazine each month. So we draw a name out of a jar, a business card, and one of our nonprofits gets picked to write an article. So
Oh my
that's a big deal
gosh,
for us, and it's really fun. So
how
right now, if you
exciting.
open the magazine, you would see Spirit of Giving Network. They were picked. They have an article in there. Next month, it's going to be the Jewish Federation. And so it's really exciting. So those kind of details come in the back end email to the group. I also send an email to the friends of the nonprofit. So if you've signed up as a member and you let Carolina or one of the staff know that you want to be a part, we can put you on that list. And you'll also get an email on the back from me. So look in your newsletter or sign up and be a part of the email.
Wonderful. How exciting to be in the magazine. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been
Oh,
wonderful. We've been in since December, and we will continue on for the rest of the year. So we're so thankful to David Mizzen and his group for seeing the value and for giving us a full page article with pictures. I mean, that is just invaluable for telling our story this year.
wonderful. And so we talked a little bit about how members of the chamber can attend, even if they're not a part of a nonprofit business. But is this a closed group, or is this opened up to other nonprofits that aren't members? I know that the chamber is a membership based organization, but if we're not quite there yet, just because maybe we don't have the budget built in, or we're still kind of putting our feelers out, but this is something we're really interested in, could I attend as a nonprofit who's not a member of the chamber?
Yes, you absolutely could. This is a wonderful place to come and check it out. It's really an opening because this makes the membership so valuable to a nonprofit. Every dollar they spend, they want to make sure they're getting some ROI on it. And when we meet monthly and we have such quality speakers and we collaborate and talk about fundraising opportunities and we connect them to experts. This year we have Andy Rose, who is a local marketing expert who's come alongside us as our sponsor, and he is willing to meet with anyone, counsel them through things, help them with their marketing. These are all valuable add-ons. So we love for any non-member nonprofit to come visit. Absolutely. If it's something they like, obviously, then we would suggest they become a member because it's a benefit of our membership. So yes, they can come and visit.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, so again, let's go back to lunch because I know that Stephanie said the breakfast is sponsored by Inspired Living. So, do you have sponsors? How does that work?
We absolutely do. I mentioned Andy, he's our annual sponsor, but we also welcome mostly it's profit organizations that want to come in, want to partner with us, want to feed us. It's a wonderful time where our nonprofit leaders who run a million miles an hour and wear many hats get to sit down and have some lunch, talk with like-minded people, kind of get out of the rat race and realize what they're doing they're not alone. They're not in a silo. This is very common for the different leaders, and it's a wonderful place. So we welcome anybody who wants to come alongside and sponsor a lunch. They can contact me. I will give them the forum and information. They do get an opportunity to introduce themselves, introduce their product or their business. They can have any material at the tables there, and they're available to speak with anyone during that lunch. So we love it when they do come alongside. Last month we had Compass Flooring. They're just a flooring company in town, but they love the nonprofit. So they wanted to provide lunch for us. And Glenn came and he brought some of his material with, and he welcomed everybody to his company. But, he comes as a support. And that's really what our lunch sponsors are. They come because they love us. They believe in what all of our nonprofits are doing, and they want to come alongside. It's not a huge amount of money. It's not a fancy lunch, but it really does feed more than their belly. It lets everybody sit down and share some talk time, get re-engaged in what fundraising really is all about and what other people are doing. So if you're interested, please contact me, lynn@darrybeach.com. I'd love to sign you up and get you involved.
You must be a mind reader, because that was the first question that came to my mind was, if I'm a sponsor, do I get to have a few minutes to talk about myself, just so people know that I'm there and that I'm supporting the council. So that's really great to hear that, because I know it's a pretty, tight timeline, but it's nice to hear that there's a few minutes allotted to that one sponsor.
Absolutely. And depending on their business and if they've done something particular with nonprofits, I mean, the committee will talk with them. It may not be that month, it may be another month that they're interviewed, because many times we bring people up and we interview them about what they've done or how they've collaborated or how they've helped a nonprofit or something they've added to us. So, no doors are shut. We want to hear what's going on, but the most important thing is that the information shared benefits a nonprofit.
Wonderful. So how do you find your speakers? Are there any specific topics that are open? Can anybody just walk in the door, or do you search them out? Like, I gotta know, how do I become a speaker for the Nonprofit Council?
Absolutely. Good question. This is where the committee comes back in. We meet monthly, and I often sit back and say, you guys are the experts. You know the trends in the nonprofit world. You know the needs, you know the problems, you know the success. So let's start putting on paper what we need to be sharing. And that's how a theme comes into play. That's how we put different ideas in each month, because we try to build one on the other. And so their connections go out and either ask the National Leadership Institute or a Conoco agency who works with incorporating nonprofits, or local marketing firms. Our next two speakers are from Blue Ivy Communication, and that would be Mark Burns and Melissa Perlman. They are very connected to the nonprofits, and they work very hard at getting their clients' names out into the media. They get good coverage. They're going to teach us about the written word and how to get it into the media. So there's got to be connecting points. And usually amongst this committee of nonprofit leaders, we find some really great people, but they're all vetted. They have to fit what we're doing. It's not willy-nilly. There is an agenda. And so we don't want to take the time that people give us and not use it wisely. This is valuable hour and a half that we're together. We want to make sure that we provide something good for the time taken.
Wonderful. Thank you. So Stephanie, I'm going to jump back to you. I'm going to give Lynn a little break there. So for Restaurant Roundtable, I saw a name on that screen, John Brewer. Why does that sound so familiar, and why is it an important thing that he's a part of this Restaurant Roundtable?
We actually started the Restaurant Roundtable with Gary Brodus, and if you were anywhere during the pandemic on Facebook, you saw the Socially Distant Supper Club, I'm sure. I believe that organization, under the leadership of John Brewer, single-handedly saved many restaurants in our town. They thought of a brilliant idea where they would just crowdsource, the takeout for the time when we were in serious lockdown in March and April. And it saved so many businesses because it enabled them to be more efficient. So if they knew where they were getting all their orders on a certain day, they could plan for that rather than just be randomly open. It was brilliant. They're continuing to work very closely with restaurants. And I was so excited that he decided he wanted to start up the Restaurant Roundtable here through the Darry Beach Chamber. They had their first meeting February, I think.
Yes, and we actually have one coming up this month at the end of April. So for Restaurant Roundtable, it was really important when starting this that we wanted to make sure it was accessible to those in the restaurant industry. And, there's morning shifts, mid-afternoon shifts, evening shifts. And even if you're working one of those shifts, you're probably working the opposite, doing something if you're in the admin or you're in support or you're pulling a double shift. So it's very hard for people in the restaurant industry to be able to make it to a roundtable. So So what we have going on right now is we're doing it via Zoom so that the way they can Zoom in from their office or from their home. And we're also recording it and sending it out to those that have signed up. That way they can still access that information and they don't feel like they're missing out on anything. Right now, the restaurant industry is changing and it's changing rapidly. So it's important to be up to date. It's important to know what's going on. And honestly, it's just important to have those connections. So if you are a chamber member, it is free to you to sign up. And then there is a small fee for future chamber members if you'd like to attend. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there and know that while it is a new roundtable, we're pretty sure it's going to be quite successful.
Yeah,
So
it's really great. If you've ever tried to work with restaurants before, which I did for so many years, it's impossible to find a time where they can all meet together, that you mentioned. So they picked Tuesdays, I think, at 10:30 a.m. because it's before the lunch shift. They can't do in the afternoon because they're preparing for dinner. Mondays, a lot of people are off in that industry, so it's like the Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of every month at 10:30 is when we do it live. But like you said, it's so important that we keep it on Zoom specifically for the reasons for people to be able to tune in at subsequent times. For this industry, especially important.
absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump to tourism roundtable, Stephanie's favorite topic. So tourism roundtable used to be in person. It used to be here in the boardroom, if I'm correct. Are you planning to go back to in-person meetings soon?
I think that we're going to alternate it, and that's what I've suggested some of the roundtables do. Because if you're like us, you found that a lot of the time, it's more efficient to meet via Zoom. We miss the in-person contact as well, but instead of having every single meeting in person or every single meeting via Zoom, we'll be able to reach a larger audience if we are able to do it in Zoom or record it. But then we'll get that personal contact at the following meeting. So I think we're gonna, for the foreseeable future, alternate it. So the one that's coming up, that we have the next tourism roundtable coming up, is going to be via Zoom, and we're going to have we have the same presenters that are giving us an update of what is actually happening, the snapshot in the tourism industry. So we have Discover the Palm Beaches, which is our county tourism board that supports all of the cities in Palm Beach County. So Discover the Palm Beaches is on. Dr. Peter Ritchie from the FAU Hospitality organization at FAU always speaks to us as well. We hear from Jody Cross from the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. And then we also hear from our emergency manager at the city, from Chris Bell, just to give us an idea of what's happening with COVID, what are the restrictions, what's open. So we've had them meet periodically. So every other month, we hear from the same people to hear what's changing, hear what the latest is, because especially in the tourism industry, just like the restaurant industry, things are changing so fast. So that's what we've had lined up for the past few months. But in July, we're going to be doing tourism summit, I guess you could call it.
Mhm.
And that's definitely via Zoom, because we're having the president and CEO of Visit Florida, her name is Dana Young, is going to come and speak to everyone. And we're also having the president of the FRLA, she'll be zooming in from Tallahassee as well, speaking to the whole audience about what have we seen in the past year and what do we think is going to go forward. So that's open to everyone, and that'll be a sponsored Zoom event, and that'll be a large event as well, like we've had with the media events in the past and other tourism summits in the past. So that one's going to be big, and that's coming up in July.
So tourism sounds like it reaches far and wide. Can you talk a little bit about why tourism and the chamber kind of intertwine and why it's so important?
Well, it is. A lot of chambers of commerce have always been in charge of destination marketing, is what we call it. And I really feel strongly about the tenet that says, if you build a place that people want to visit, you build a place that people want to move to. And if you build a place that people want to move to, they want to move their business to. And then if you want to move your business there, it's a place that people want to visit. It's like a virtuous circle. So it's very important for us to be very strong in destination marketing for a chamber, obviously, especially in a great beach town like we have here. And it affects not only the direct businesses, such as the hotels and the restaurants, which you normally think of, or even the shops. It affects all kinds of ancillary businesses. If you build a place that people want to move to. That helps the real estate agents, that helps the brokers, that helps the lawyers, that helps the accountants, and those are who make up all of our chamber membership. Is a lot of small businesses, and it helps the spas, obviously, and it helps the gas stations and the grocery stores around town. Anytime you have a very strong tourism arm, so it helps all of our businesses, not just the hotels and restaurants. When you bring a lot of people in and visitors into town that fall in love with Delray Beach.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we have clearly several options for you to join if there is something that you're interested in. Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit at its heart why roundtables and councils are so important and why we want to make sure that they're available not only to our members but to our non-members or our future members or our partners? Why do we do this?
It's so great. And we found the reason that we have a lot of new roundtables sprouting up is people are finding it so useful to meet with their peers and share what's going on, especially during this most difficult past year that we've had. We've been sharing best practices and finding out what's going on and having a little bit of support and even emotional support. It's like, oh, I know what you feel like. Well, we saw that problem and this is what we did with it. So it's not competitive at all, even though they're all in the same industry. It is amazing how they're there to help each other. And we've seen that in every single one. The real estate roundtable, as you mentioned before, Christina Morrison, who is a very valued real estate member of the real estate community. She's been doing real estate roundtable for a long time. And you think, oh, they're competing against each other. No, they don't. They work with each other. It's like, I've got this house, I've got this client. Okay, let's work together. And so they do that. And they also have a really great speaker every month as well. So having the different industries work together in the roundtable environment and collaborate has been extremely useful for all of those lines of business. That's why they keep cropping up. And these are member led. John Brewer came to us, like, we want to do a restaurant. Excellent. Christina Morrison, we want to do real estate. Fantastic. We've even got some corporate real estate people that are thinking of starting a corporate real estate as well. So it's membership driven because they love it and they need it and they want it. And so it's great. It's
Absolutely.
great for the chamber. It's great for the members.
Absolutely. And it essentially it uplifts the community. And a fascinating little tidbit is a lot of these attendees, they cross attend meetings. So, I mean, connections are being made, favors are being done. And it's just really nice to see all of these different industries working with each other and helping each other out. And it's something that makes Delray just one of those communities that people are like, that's Delray, which is, just amazing. So today was a little bit shorter. And before we leave you, I want Stephanie and Lynn to give me a one word of what comes to mind when you think of our roundtables and when you think of our committees and when you think of our councils.
Let me go first. Collaboration. And I'm all about that. Communication and collaboration is so important. And it's a two-way street. So they communicate with each other and they end up collaborating. And I know that's something that Lynn loves to do. She loves to connect people and put them together. What do you say, Lynn?
I do. I think it's education too. I think it's amazing what we can learn. As we said, go to Healthcare Council and you're going to learn so much about what's happening in the different parts of healthcare today, as well as networking, as well as collaborating. If you came to a nonprofit meeting, you would get great education for your organization, even if you are a profit organization. And I think the same for take any of the roundtables. We're going to learn about the restaurants. We're going to be educated on the work level and the stress level and what they're getting and not getting. I was amazed when I sat in on healthcare on a restaurant and learned about the products that they couldn't get and the cost changes and how they have to redo their menus because of it. Well, then me as a consumer, I have a much better understanding of when I go into a restaurant and what the menu looks like and why it's changed. I mean, I just think we get educated all the way around.
Wonderful. So I'm going to cheat and give you 2 words. I think that they are inspiring and I think of growth. You leave these meetings after, and it's a meeting of the minds, just the people that come to these, they know so much, they're so involved, and you leave feeling better and wanting to do better. And with that comes growth. So it's super important that we have this. It's super important that if you're interested, you reach out if you want to attend. And that's all that we have for today. We would like to invite you back for our final series, which is Mastering the Art of Involvement. We're going to talk about Leadership Del Rey, Chairman's Club, and the Board of Directors. So again, guys, this was a 5-part series. You can see all 4 parts on Facebook, YouTube, or the Chamber's website. If you have any further questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are here. We're happy. We're excited to help. Have a great day.
Thank you.